Hi, my name is Brandy, and right now we're standing in the main gallery of the Reynolds Alberta Museum in Wetaskiwin. We get our name from a local man, Stan Reynolds. Stan started out with a used car dealership and began taking old tractors and old cars in trade. Eventually, his collection got so large that he offered to donate it to the provincial government. They accepted and they built a museum, this one, to care for and display his artifacts, including the one that we're going to be talking about today, this 1911 Ford Model T Tourabout. In 1999, the Ford Model T was named the world's most influential car of the 20th century. If we just take a look at it, you might not really see what all of the fuss is about. It's not glamorous or rare. However, the Model T does hold a very significant place in history. It sparked an automotive revolution by making car ownership accessible to the average person. You see, most early cars were very expensive, and they were only accessible to the wealthy. However, farmers, factory workers, shopkeepers, and so many others could afford a Model T. It's because of the Model T's affordability that it was named the car of the people. While the Model T put the Ford Motor Company on the map, it wasn't the first car that Henry Ford, the company's namesake, made. He started experimenting with car designs in his personal workshop while he was still an engineer at the Edison Illuminating Company of Detroit. Yes, that means Henry Ford and Thomas Edison were friends. Ford continued to manufacture cars, working its way through the alphabet with models B, C, F, K, N, R, and S. Then, in 1908, the Model T debuted. Durable and affordable, it was a humble car, yet it was so successful that they continued to produce them until 1927. Throughout those 19 years, over 50 million Model Ts were produced worldwide. Even here in Alberta, they were popular. By 1930, 6 out of every 10 cars registered in the province were Model Ts. In 1904, the Ford Motor Company of Canada was established in Walkerville, which is now Windsor, Ontario. That was Ford's first international factory, and it was conveniently located across the Detroit River from Ford's American operations. The new company not only served the Canadian market, it also served customers throughout the British Empire. You may have heard that Model Ts were only available in black. That comes from a rumored quote attributed to Henry Ford, where he said that the customer can have any color of car as long as it's black. Even though that phrase can't be confirmed, that was partly true for its production run. Originally, they were painted with red, blue, green, and gray varnish, which was much different to today's automotive paint. Then, in 1914, they switched to all black varnish. Though some believe this switch was because black paint dried faster, there's no claims from the company to really reflect that. Instead, black was chosen because it was cheap and durable, so a switch to all black cars allowed Ford to reduce its costs. Here you can see a false but funny guide to the Model T's various shades of black. It was actually Ford Canada who was responsible for bringing the color back to the Model T. In 1926, lacquer paint became available, which made lighter and brighter colors for cars more possible. Ford stuck to making black cars, but customers started choosing vehicles from other companies because they could get a variety of colors. Wallace Campbell, the head of Ford Canada at the time, convinced Henry Ford to reintroduce color to the Model T. The Canadian plant started producing cars with a variety of colors within 48 hours, whereas it took the Detroit plant 2 weeks to catch up. This Model T right here is our oldest in our collection, so let's take a closer look at it. As you might have noticed from the photos from our collection, there are different body styles available, including this one, the Tourabout, which is actually quite unique. They were only produced for 3 model years, 1909, 1910, and 1911. The Tourabout is similar to the Touring body style, where there are 2 rows as opposed to 1 row in the Roadster. However, the difference between the Tourabout and the Touring is that the Tourabout has no rear doors. This would make it sportier and less suitable for families. This Model T's engine compartment is small and very simplistic compared to automobiles today. It has a 4-cylinder inline engine, which is rated for 20 horsepower. The Radiator features the iconic Ford script designed by C. Harold Wills of the Ford Motor Company. He used his grandfather's stencil set to do this, which was a tool that schools typically use to teach children how to write. The brass container creates a gas that illuminates the headlights. Inside, there are two chambers. The top one is filled with water, and the bottom one is filled with calcium carbide. A valve controls the rate at which water drips below onto the calcium carbide. That reaction produces acetylene gas, which is connected to the headlights through a hose. Acetylene gas is flammable, so you could light it with a match. This is very common technology. Underground coal miners used carbide lamps, and we also have a women's bicycle from 1895 with one. Our tires are white because white is actually the natural color of rubber. In contemporary tires, carbon black has been added to them to make them more durable. While restoring this Model T, the museum made sure to restore them using the natural white rubber. Another major part of our restoration is that we make the artifact operational, which means that we can actually drive this car. If you come to our museum, you can go for a ride in one of our Model Ts and even learn how to drive one. It has 3 pedals and a lever, however you can't drive it like a conventional manual vehicle. Let's take a closer look at the pedals. They're conveniently labeled for us. C stands for clutch, R for reverse, and B for brake. The clutch, when pressed in, will put the car into low gear. This is really great for driving slow and steady. The reverse and the brake are hopefully self-explanatory. This lever here has 3 settings. The back position is the park brake, the middle position is neutral, and the forward position is high gear. To go faster, you need to shift from low gear to high gear. In low gear, you'll have the clutch pressed fully down and the lever in the neutral position. To shift, you have to put your lever into the forward position and slowly take your foot off of the clutch. Now you'll have some speed, you'll hear the roar of the Model T, and you might even feel the wind in your hair. To adjust your speed, you have to use the throttle. But you'll remember that we had 3 pedals on the floor and none of them were gas. The throttle is actually this lever up here on the steering wheel, which can be adjusted accordingly to your desired speed. There's another lever on the steering wheel, that's your spark advance, which controls the timing of the firing of the spark plugs. Before you can drive a Model T though, you have to start it up. So in order to do that, you want your spark advance and your throttle levers at the highest positions, and you want to turn this switch here to the battery position. The final step is to come to the front of the Model T to turn the crank. Cranks were used to start internal combustion engines in the early days of the automobile. They were dangerous, you had to turn them correctly or you could injure yourself, and they were a major reason why people opted not to purchase gasoline-powered vehicles. That didn't change until the invention of the electric start. On this vehicle, once you turn the crank, you'd hear the engine power up, then you could hop in and go for a spin. I know it seems kind of hard to wrap your head around it, but keep in mind that over 15 million Model Ts were sold worldwide, which means that more than 15 million people would have learned how to drive this way. Thank you very much for listening to our tour. We hope to see you soon.